I think you guys are not listening properly, some of you. Otherwise, you won't get these questions. Maybe you joined late. I don't know exactly. See, if I look at here, when we have to use less than or equal to or minus 1 and not minus 1. Simply can say, when I say a dot length, okay, a dot length, that will return total number of values, 5. 5 values are there. Totally 5 values are there. But index will start from 0. So guys, I am again repeating, listen this carefully this time. This is an array. Okay? Why we have to put minus 1, I am telling you. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 0 index, first index, second, third, and 4. Okay, now you tell me, how many number of values are there in this array? Is 100, 200, 3, 4, and 5. Values I am asking. How many values we have? Values. 5 values. Great. How many indexes we have? So index. Start from 0. So starting index 0. What is the last index? 4. 4 means what? 5 minus 1, right? 4 means 1. 5 minus 1. So index to starting is 0. The last one is 4. So if the number of values are 5, the last index should be what? 5 minus 1. That is 4. So if the number of values are n, the last index value should be n minus 1. Is this clear, first of all? So number of values are n. The last index value always should be n minus 1. Okay. Now, based on this, we have to put the condition. Now come back to the condition. In the for loop, when I say I value starting from 0, index is starting from 0. When I say I less than, when I say less than, what is the last index we have to specify? 4 is the last index, right? So how to get this last index? We will get number of values. Length keyword will just return number of values. It will not return indexes. Okay. So when I say a dot length, observe this. When I say a dot length, is it correct or not? A dot length will return what? Number of values. 5 it will return. What I am saying here, I less than 5. I less than 5. Will it get all the values? Initially 0, 1, 2 also matching, 3 also matching, 4 is also matching. But as soon as I value become 5, then what happens? Condition false. So then it will exit. So when I say less than, a dot length is okay. When I use less than here, a dot length is okay. But when I say a less than or equal to, a less than or equal to, a dot length is okay or not? Because a dot length is 5. I less than or equal to 5. When you put I less than or equal to 5, there should be fifth location also. Right? But there is no fifth location here. Whenever I value becomes 4, 4 less than or equal to 5, still condition is true. But as soon as I value becomes 5, then what happens? 5 less than or equal to 5, condition is again true. But here there is no fifth position. Right? So that is the reason. You say minus 1. Then it will become 4. Right? So when I use less than, you have to just say a dot length. When I use less than equal to, if you want to use less than or equal to, then you can say a dot length minus 1 you have to use. Because last index you will get. So total number of values minus 1 is equal to last index. So we have to repeat the loop till the last index number. We should not go beyond that. Okay? That is the reason. So because of that, the same thing is applicable for two-dimensional array. The two-dimensional array also, here because we are using less than or equal to, so that we say minus 1. Here also. Okay? This is thumb rule. Less than or equal to means you have to use minus 1. If you want to use only less than means, just say only a dot length. Okay? So this is how we can read data from two-dimensional array. Okay, so in the nested for loop is also same process. Every time here R value will be incremented by 1 and again C value also will be incremented by 1. So once it comes here it will substitute R and C values. R value 0, C value 0, 0, 0. Then you will get the first number. The second of iteration, inner for loop will repeat that. Okay, so how it is going to work? Just listen this. This is outer for loop, this is inner for loop. Inner for loop repeated 2 times. For one iteration of outer for loop, inner for loop repeated 2 times. After completion of inner for loop, then it will go to outer for loop and increment it. Again it will come inside. Again inner for loop will repeat 2 times. Then again it will go to, it becomes 3. So because in every row, we have multiple columns also. So we have to increment rows by using outer for loop. Parallelly, for every row, we have to increment the columns also. So once for first row, we have incremented columns. Again second row, incremented columns. Third row, we incremented columns. Like this it will work. If you listen carefully, there is no confusion actually. So this is for outer for loop, this is for inner for loop. Simple. In outer for loop, representing the number of rows in array. Inner for loop is representing number of columns in array. This is how the two-dimensional array will store the data. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. 0 row, first row, second row, 0 column, first column, second column. First we will focus on the first 0 row, then we will read all the columns. So R value 0 initially, then this inner for loop will read all the columns. First 0, second 1, third 2, 0, 1, 2, like this. Once it is completed, so first row is done. Now it will go to outer for loop, means second row. That means first row here. And R value becomes 1. So again it will come inside and again this inner for loop will repeat 2 times or 3 times, depends upon the size. And once it is completed, then again it will go to outer for loop, next row. And again come inside this for loop. And this will repeat again multiple times. And inner for loop is exited. Again go to outer for loop. Then there are no more rows here. Then automatically it is exit. So this is how nested for loop works. So guys, everyone is clear? Please confirm in the chat window how exactly the nested for loop works. Now, it will be more simpler if I use enhanced for row. Okay, let us try to use enhanced for it. It's more simpler than this one because we are not going to write any indexes, nothing. It's very, very simple when I use for each loop or enhanced for loop. Just observe this. Okay, so just first of all, I'm going to write this and then I'll explain how it exactly is going to work. Very simple. Again, here we need 2 for loops. Okay, because whenever you are dealing with a 2-dimensional array, definitely we need 2 for loops. One for loop internally is having another for loop. Okay. So the outer for loop is representing the number of rows, inner for loop is representing columns again. So here, because it is enhanced for loop, the A is array name, colon, int, something, let us say some ARR, some array name. And here, ARR, I'll tell you what exactly it is, some X, index. Now, here we just print X value. That's it. No initialization, this is simple. This much of code is required. So when I execute this, you will get all the values from array. So you get all the values. So now let me show you how exactly it is going to work. It is more easier than first one, just observe this. This is my 2-dimensional array, which contains, currently we have the rows and 2 columns. And we don't need to deal with any index. Again, index will start from 0, 1 to 0, 1, no problem. So, 200, 300, 400, 500, then 600. Okay, this is my 2-dimensional array. Now, how is going to read the data from array? So, this time, A is representing the entire array. Okay. So, from A, again we have a multiple rows. 0, 1, 2. So, in the first round of iteration, what will happen is, from A, it will capture the entire row, the first row. How many values we have in the first row? 2 values. Okay? The values we have. So in the first round of iteration, from A, 100 and 200 will be captured. And that I'm going to store in a variable. And if you want to store multiple values into single variable, what type of variable it should be? It should be single dimensional array. Right? So if you want to hold multiple values into single variable, what type of variable it should be? It should be single dimensional type of an array, right? So from A, first it will capture 100 and 200, first row data. That we are going to store in single dimensional array. ARR is a single dimensional array. Now how many values it contains? ARR contains how many values? What are they? 2 values, 100 and 200, okay? Remember, 100 and 200. Now come inside. And here ARR is what? Array, which contains 100 and 200. Now in this, again first 100 will store into X. And here 100 will print. Second round, 200 will assign into X. Now here 200 is printed. After that, there are no more values in ARR. Then it will go to again outer function. Now, second row, 300 and 400 will be stored into ARR. Next round, 300 and 400. Now what are the current values of ARR? 400, 300 and 400. Now come inside. So ARR contains a 300 and 400. Now first 300 is assigned to the X. And here X is printed as 300. Next round 400 is assigned to the X. Then 400 is got printed. Next round there are no more values in ARR. Then it will go to again outer for. Now in outer for loop, next time it will need another row. 500 and 600 will assign to the ARR. 500 and 600 will assign to the ARR. Now come inside. What is the first value in ARR? 500. 500 will assign to the X, then here 500 will be printed. Next 600 will assign to the X, 600 is got printed. Next no more values, then it will go to outer for loop. In outer for loop, here doesn't have any more rows. All are completed. So it will automatically exit. So this is how enhanced for loop works. So now, do you guys understood why we have taken single dimensional array variable in outer for loop? Why we have taken like this? Can we take a normal variable, right? We can take normal variable, but why we have taken array variable? What is the reason behind that? Because A is a two-dimensional array. In the two-dimensional array, we have a rows and columns. The two-dimensional array, we have a rows and columns. So first row, second row, third row. Again, every row contains multiple values. So when I read a particular row, we will get multiple values. So to store these multiple values, we need a single dimensional array. Normal variable is not enough to store those values. Similarly, next row, again we will get multiple values. Again, same dimension. Third row, we will get again same. As soon as we get the values here, we will again read individual values and we are printing. And again get another row, next row, next row. Okay? So this is how enhanced for loop works. So when I execute it, this will print all the values, 100 to 600. Again, if you want to print in the tabular format, simply you can do only in the print means it will print output only in single line. And after completion of inner for loop, just write one empty println statement so that will jump to the next line. So when you run this will print the values like this in the tabular format. Again, if you want to give some space, in X, you can just put some space. X is just a variable which will hold some data, normal variable. Yeah, now we get the tabular format. So this is more simpler than the first approach. So this is called enhanced for loop. Okay? So is this clear, everyone? Yeah, so you can enable the debug point and you can check how exactly the statements are executing. Okay? So let me just put some debug point here. So line number 59, I'm just keeping toggle breakpoint. Okay, now let us try to execute this code in the debug mode so that we can see each and every line how it is going to execute. So we have to choose debug as Java application. So wherever you put the debug point, there it is stopped. Okay, now just observe. What is A contains? See, these are the values A contains. 100 and 200 is the first row, 3, 400 is the second row, 5 and 600 is the next row. Okay. Now I'm just crossing the step. To go to the next step, what is the key we have to use? F6. Okay, now I go to next step. Just observe. ARR contains again, see, 100 and 200. What does that mean? We got a first row data. You got my point. So in A, we have these many values, 3 rows. Now on the first row is what? 100 and 200. Once this step is crossed, in the second step, in ARR, we got only first row, 100 and 200. Now when you cross this, just observe. X contains what? 100, first value. Now in the second iteration, 200. It is over. Now it will go to outer for loop again. See this. Now A contains what? All the values. But when you cross the step, just observe. This time we got a second row. Previously 100 and 200 ARR value. Now it is 300 and 400. Now I'm crossing this step. First to 300 is got printed. Next round, 400 is got printed. Over. Then it will go to again outer for loop. Okay, same. All the values are there now. The last row, 500 or 600 we should get. Cross the step. Now you can see 500 and 600. So first 500 will be stored in X. 500. Next 600 will be stored in X. That. Now it will again go to outer for loop. So all the values are there. But all rows are completed, right? So it will automatically exit. So this is how we can debug the code. Step by step we can execute and see how the values are changing. Okay? So just you practice this. It will slowly, you can be familiar with this and you can understand. It's very, very helpful to understand the flow of execution. Because sometimes you may not have understood if you execute the program directly and by seeing the output, but internally how it is executing the flow. If you want to check, you can run the code in the debug box. Just put one toggle breakpoint, debug as Java application, and then shortcut is F6. When you press F6 function key, it will execute step by step. Okay? So this is all about two-dimensional array. Now quickly I show you object type of an array. It is more simpler. So far, we understood one definition about Java. What is the definition? Java is array. Array is a collection of elements or collection of values of same data type. That is official definition. That means homogeneous data only we can store in array. Only homogeneous data we can store. Means same data type values. If you create an integer array, you have to store only integer. If you create a double array, you can store only double. If you create an array as a string, you can store only strings. But if you want to store heterogeneous data, that means if you want to store different type of data in array, then how it is possible? So that is also possible, but that is not recommended actually. But if you have a different type of data, with different data types of data you have available, then you can directly go with the array list. Array list is one of the collection type. So that is preferred most of the times, okay? But we can also use array to store a different type of data. But this is unofficial. Not normally we don't use this. But if in interview, if anybody asks you, can we store heterogeneous data in array? Yes, you can say yes. By using object array, we can do that. So let me show you a quick example. How can we store different type of data in arrays? It can be single or two-dimensional. Anything is fine. The concept is how we can store different type of data in arrays. Different data types, how can we store? Okay. Which is normally called as object type of an array. Object array. Fine. So let me just create one array in the A. See, in the first I am storing integer. Second I am storing decimal. Next I am storing one character. Next, I am storing one string. Next, I am storing some boolean. See this? This is called heterogeneous data. Heterogeneous data. So if you want to store heterogeneous data in array, it should not be specific data type. If it is an integer, it is not allowed. So if you want to store heterogeneous data in an array variable, that variable should be object type of variable. Actually, what is an object? This object is a predefined class in Java, just like a string. In string, S is a capital letter, right? So just like a string, object is also one of the type or one of the class in Java. It is a root class actually. All other classes are derived from the same root object class. In the coming sessions, we will try to understand what exactly it is. So this is a super class, or is the root class of all predefined classes in Java. For not just to understand only this much, in the coming sessions, I will try to elaborate in the object-oriented programming concepts, okay? So if you want to store heterogeneous data, the array type should be object. So let me give you some example. If you create int variable, suppose int a, I can store only number. If you create a double or float, you create double variable or float, you can store only decimal number. If you create a char variable, you can store only character like this. If you create a string variable, you can store only string. If you create a boolean variable, you can store only true or false. But if you create object type of variable, okay, object type of variable, this can hold any type of data. Okay, remember this. You can store integer, you can store double, you can store character, you can store string, you can store boolean. All kinds of data is allowed in object type of variable. Okay, allowed all kinds of data. X is allowed all kinds of data. Just remember this point. Same thing for arrays also. If we create an array as an integer, I can store only integer values here. If I create an array as a double, I can store only decimal numbers in array. If you create a string array, I can store only strings. But if you create an array with object type, I can store different type of data. Okay? Now the next thing, how to read this data. Let's write one enhanced for loop. Simple, right? A. From this A, we want to read individual values into variable. Now, what is the type of the variable should be created here? So every time in every iteration, first time 100 you will get into the variable. Suppose here I am creating one variable for X. So first time 100 will store in X. Second time 10.5. Third time A. Next time welcome. Next time true. So different values are coming into X in every iteration, right? So X should be able to hold all kinds of data. Right? So in that case, what is the type of X? What type we have to specify for X? Obviously, this is also object. Right? Because in every iteration we are getting different type of data we are getting. That's the reason X is an object. So obviously you can just print that. You can just print X value. Okay? So this is how we can just read the data from single dimensional object type of an array. Right? If you want to use normal for loop by using index, you can still do that. Suppose if you want to use normal for loop, per index will start from what? 0. Index I equal to 0. How many times we have to repeat? How many times we have to repeat? I less than a dot length minus 1. How many times we have to increase I plus plus? I representing the index. Okay, I representing the index. So here we can just print a of I. That's it. So this is a normal for loop. Using normal for loop also, we will able to read the data. Okay? Clear, everyone? This object type comes under non-primitive? Yes. That is also part of non-primitive because which is able to store all kinds of data. Okay. So guys, understood how we can work with the single dimensional arrays and the two-dimensional arrays. This concept is not still completed actually. I should give some more examples. The tomorrow session, we will see some more examples. Also, we will discuss about string concept, which is most important. And once the strings concept is done, we will also discuss some more examples from arrays. Because this is the most important topic, even in interviews also, they will give you so many problem statements related to arrays concept especially. There are so many things we can practice from arrays. Lot of things, sorting, searching, okay, and printing the numbers in the reverse order, ascending order, descending order, sum of elements in array, finding even numbers in array, finding odd numbers in array. You can do lot of things. The next 2 sessions, what are 2 sessions? We will spend time on this particular concept. Okay. For today, this is enough. You guys can practice these topics for now. And I will give you 2 assignments based upon these topics, first 2 topics, whatever we discussed. Then you guys can try those assignments. So, these are the assignments. First assignment, find the sum of elements in array. You guys can try this. I will also provide the video. And if not understood, in tomorrow's session, they will discuss. And tomorrow's session, we have something yet to discuss, but you guys can try this. It's very simple. First, you need to read each individual value one by one. And then, you need to do sum of each and every number. Let's say 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 equal to 50. So, when you pass some data in array, we will get the total sum of all the elements. So, this, we have to use looping statement. For reading each and every value, as soon as you capture the value, we have to add that value to the sum. And take the sum value 0 initialize. So I have created some video on this. You can just go to the reference video. You will be able to understand. Very simple, very easy. Just to reading the data from array. Now, second, print even and odd numbers from array. So this is also totally depends on the first one. First, we have to read this number and check it is an even or odd number. Print it. And then go to the next number and check even or odd. Again, go to the next number, check even or odd. So for every digit or every value in the array, you have to find even or odd number. And you have to tell how many even numbers are there, how many odd numbers are there in this particular array. Okay. So try these 2 assignments. Both are related to single dimensional array. You guys can try this. And in the last class, somebody asked about prime number, how to find a prime number. So for that, I have given one solution here. You guys can try this. Simple video I have created. So what is a prime number and how to find the prime number through programmatically. So what is the condition behind that? So in this link, you can just go through, and in this video, you will be able to understand what is, just using by for loop, you can simply do this actually. So prime number, find the prime number. You can just go to the video link and you can understand. Okay. Fine. So this is all about assignment. So tomorrow, we'll still continue the topic, strings along with arrays, and we'll see some more examples. And some more assignments also I will give you tomorrow session. And meanwhile, you guys practice these assignments. And if you are stuck somewhere, watch that video. And I have clearly explained most of the assignments. I will provide the video links, okay? Most of the assignments. And very small assignments, very easiest one, you guys can try your own. If video is not available, other than that, most of them I provide the video links. Okay, I already told you how to upload all your assignments. Yes, can try that. Fine. So I'll stop here for today's session. And tomorrow's session, we will continue.